listen to your consumer and solve their problems, because that's why you actually are in business.
That's Kristel de Groot, co-founder of Your Soup, a health and wellness brand that makes plant-based superfoods and protein mixes. This is the Food for Thought podcast, and I'm your host, Erin Hallstrom. In this episode of the Food for Thought podcast, we talk about Your Soup's consumer-centric approach to product development, from the company's very personal beginning to its current status as a certified B-Corp wellness brand. Kristel walks us through how the company finds its inspiration for launching new products. We also talk about funding, COVID, and what advice Kristel has for any new up-and-coming brands wanting to make a name for themselves. Enjoy the episode. Kristel, welcome to the Food for Thought podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm very excited for you to be here, too. I am just ecstatic about letting the Food for Thought podcast audience know more about you. So let's dig in and let's get to know you a little bit more. Tell me about yourself and the company you co-founded, Your Soup.
Yeah, I'm Kristel, but I'm one of the co-founders from Your Soup. I'm fun fact, I'm Dutch. So I'm from Holland, and we started the company about seven years ago, and actually for very personal reasons. Michael had cancer when he was 24, and we met in college, long time ago at this point. But really, he went through chemo and surgery, and really he came out of it, and like you're so to say healed, but he was really anything but healthy. So really after that process, he actually, I put him on a detox. I was always a little bit of this health nut. Food was for me a really big thing. My mom and aunt were nutritionists. I had eczema when I grew up. So like that's kind of where my passion actually came from. And learned from a very young age that it really mattered what I ate. And, from there, really, I put him on a detox, and I started buying all the superfoods for him, and he thought it was just really complicated. And he's like, I don't want to buy any of these things. It's complicated. It's expensive. And that's really kind of where I had an empty jar through these different superfoods for him together, very similar to one of our mixes nowadays, Super Green, and said, okay, whatever you do, just take this every single day. And that was really the moment for him, an aha moment of actually what superfoods, which are, nutrient-dense, naturally dried whole foods, how they can actually really help you to improve your health, your energy levels, and everything else. But also this aha moment of like, hey, there are a lot more Michaels in this world, right? There are 9 out of 10 people in the U.S. don't eat enough fruit and vegetables every single day. So from there, we started developing this line of originally 7 different superfood mixes. Each mix has 5-6 different ingredients. They each have their own function. Everything is organic and plant-based, and they're really easy to use. You can add them to water, oat milk, in a smoothie. There's no stevia or anything in there, so you can even add them to savory things. And that's kind of like we're really on this mission to just get more plants into people. I think our mixes are really this great starting point, but then also just teaching people again on how to make some of these healthy meals for themselves.
So I've read in several places that you and Michael were once rivals on the tennis court. How did that rivalry turn into a partnership and then a business partnership?
Yeah, we were both on the tennis team. So he was in the guys team, I was in the girls team, and that's where we met. And we definitely played some tennis matches against each other, which was fun. There was a lot of there was just a lot of energy between us, and really we were together now at this point 12, 13 years. Have been working together for 7 years, and we get this question so often of like, hey, how can you be together and work together? I could never do that. I hear that so often. And what I found is actually we know each other at such a deep level that there's this really open communication even in the way we work together that I really, really enjoy. And then at the same time, we spend so much, like, we're very mission driven. We're very, passionate about what we do, and we work a lot of hours. And, but we do that together. And I think, like, he's someone I really care about. So I want to spend time with him, and I feel the business really enables us to actually do that. So I think that's, somehow, like what I always say, we have different relationships together. We have a business relationship, but we also have actually just like a loving relationship as well.
Your super has been described as a next-gen industry leader in plant-based living. When you first started down this entrepreneurial road, did you ever see yourself or this brand becoming as big as it has?
Absolutely not. It's no, that's really. I mean, you start right, and really like how it started. The first year, we were mixing everything still together by ourselves. We had a little certified organic room actually in Holland. We started in Europe, the business, and from there, like we had our first production run a year later, and it really just started like giving it to family, friends, going to farmers markets, selling a little bit online. And then from there, we were in Europe for a while, and then we saw actually that more and more orders were coming from the U.S. And we were just like, why? They have to pay in euros. They have to wait 4 weeks for shipping. It's a European website. Why would they order? And I think there was this like, when we called all our customers also in the U.S., we're like, hey, why did you order? And they're like, yeah, I really like the way you source. So we have, for example, transparent supply chain, where we have direct partnerships with all the co-ops we work with and source our ingredients from, and really look for the best quality. If a wheatgrass comes from China or if it comes from Germany, it's a very different product, which we learned when we were mixing it ourselves together. So that was one thing. And the way, we have a giving back program where we donate a lot from our proceeds. We have a really big partnership with Action Against Hunger. So there was just some of these things that just felt there was no stevia in our products, right? That they were just so different to them. And we said like, hey, let's also go to the U.S. And that's really like that. I think that's growth. Like it just kind of just goes step by step. We launched in the U.S. in January 2018. And from there also have just step by step been growing, and I think you just always adjust. Like you don't necessarily know from the beginning, this is how big it's going to be, but you just always expand your horizon a little further and always get excited about like the next opportunities.
Speaking of opportunities, I'm curious, how do you and your partner develop new products for your super? What does product development look like?
Like nowadays, really, we're very consumer focused. So we sell online, and I think one of the benefits of selling online is that we have direct contact with our customers. So we have, big online groups where we actually talk to them. Michael and me will go live on Facebook and Instagram, always interact with them. And we send surveys. And one of the things we do now is we ask them, it's like, hey, what is another problem that we need to solve for you? What do you need? And, we listen and we try to, find patterns. And based on that, with that, like, okay, this is the problem we want to solve for. So, for example, last year that was for moon balance, we heard over and over again, hormonal imbalance. Okay, we need to think of something natural that can actually support women with hormone imbalance. So from there, we look at like, okay, what's out in nature? Like, what are some of the ingredients that can help balance hormones again? And we from there have a long list, short list. We work with different nutritionists. We look at different, lots of different studies, and develop our products that way, where we combine the 5-6 ingredients. And that mix has been, whether it's for moon balance, whether it's for PMS, whether it's for menopause, it's a mix that is helping lots and lots of different women. Which is really, really exciting. And to then also afterwards see, the effect on the consumers again, right? Because they're always giving us this feedback. So I think that's something, listen to your consumer and solve their problems, because that's why you actually are in business.
A topic on the Food for Thought podcast a lot this season has been about funding, and especially funding for kind of startups or newer businesses. So I'm curious, How has funding been for your super? Have you run into any issues or problems so far?
I think a lot of startups run into problems. Yes, we went through our fair share of challenges, I like to call them. I like to be challenged, and if I look back over the years, I mean, we did last year. We did a Series B with Power Plant as one of our main investors. But especially if I look at the early days, it was a super struggle, especially in Europe. We were an e-com brand. We were, selling superfoods where that was just no one was super excited about that. We were, but no one else. We were a little bit too early actually in Europe in that sense. And it is a struggle. Like, I think my biggest tip always, and I've heard this from someone else, and I just always like keep that with me. Like, you're gonna get 100 no's before you get a yes, right? And it's so often if you're fundraising, you need just this one yes. If you have your first lead investor in, like the rest suddenly all follows. It's like, I know they're all saying, like, oh yeah, we're investing, we're like, like we're taking risks, but a lot of them don't actually take that much risk. They take the risk if someone else is taking the risk. So it's, I think that's an important piece. And that was not really a challenge for us, but just also another piece, like really be also picky with who you work, right? Because you're not just taking money, like they're becoming part of your business. For us, Power Plant is really a partner that is all about plant-based eating. Our mission is like our recipes are plant-based. It's a huge part of our brand as well. So it's really finding these people that have similar values who you want to have on board.
I'm curious because, we've all endured COVID and the pandemic, and I would be remiss if I did not ask, from a business standpoint, did the pandemic help or hurt your business?
Yeah, it's for us, I feel, we were very lucky, right? We were already selling online, and a lot of, what we were doing, we could keep doing. There were some challenges, for example, with sourcing and, like some of these things, 100%. Sometimes one warehouse had to be closed. But overall, on that sense, most of our regular business could keep running. Besides that, we all had to go remote. But even from that standpoint, we have an LA and a Berlin office. So a lot of that was already, there was some structure in place to actually go all remote. If you really from that standpoint, I think we were good. We really still grew last year. I don't think it was just because of the pandemic. It was not like, the pandemic hit and overnight our business doubled. Absolutely not. What for us really happened more on the mission level, that we feel what we're doing of really, supporting people improve their health is even more important than it ever was before. And a lot of people, felt stuck at home, and it's not always easy, even in those moments, right? To just, take care of yourself, and you see that, and I think it can really go both ways. Some people became really more health conscious, other people not, and we really just try to just be there for people. One of the things we did is the first 3 months from the pandemic, we almost went every day live within our, Facebook and Instagram communities, just to and cook different recipes, just to really be there for people, connect with them, teach them on how to cook more at home, because that was something new, how to integrate some of the mixes, how to actually support your immunity. So a lot of those kind of things.
As we finish up the episode, I want to talk a bit about takeaways or advice. What advice would you give to someone just starting out with an idea for a food or beverage product that wasn't sure the next steps to take?
So many tips. I think that the biggest thing is, one, make sure you're really passionate about it. I think that's super, super important. And then know that there is always a solution. You often don't need to know the how yet, as long as you're clear on your what. And your why. What is it that you want? Why do you want it? And then the solutions, you will find them. I've always joked that in the beginning, Google has been my biggest friend. You can find a lot of answers on Google, and obviously reaching out to people. So I think that's always a good piece. But I think if it's something you're just so excited about, and like something that the world really needs, and it really like speaks also to your why of like, hey, this is what why it's also needed and other people need it. Go for it, right? Start small, think big, and just go for it.
Thank you so much. That was great. A lot of useful information there. And I wanted to say thank you, Kristel. Thank you so much for being on the Food for Thought podcast with me today.
Thank you, Erin. It was great being there. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And if anyone has more questions afterwards, they can always reach out to me probably on Instagram or wherever else, LinkedIn, wherever you find me.
For everyone listening to the Food for Thought podcast today, thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and just about everywhere you can listen to a podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we talk more about the stories behind the headlines of the food and beverage industry. Take care. Have a great day.